Welcome back, everybody. It is the 11th of June, Sunday. Rainy season. Jesus fucking Christ. It's that rare part of the year where spring has finished, summer has now started, so you're gearing yourself up for summer. But in Japan, Japan just goes, no, not yet. Don't be putting your shorts on just yet because I'm going to piss it down for a month first. So that's what it's doing at the moment. Last week, torrential rain for about 4 days, and then we saw a bit of blue sky. And then from Thursday, rain, overcast, rain, overcast, rain, overcast. And that's all it has been today. So what will happen is around July 15th, the clouds will clear. And then you get into stupid temperatures. Yeah, you're getting up in the high 30s. But the good news is I'd like to thank my Patreon people. And obviously I've got sponsorship now, so I'm going to take this on the road. I'm going Europe, the Middle East, and I'm also going to be south of the equator. I'm taking the podcast on road. And it's down to all you subscribers and people that download it, and also the people that are dropping in a bit of cash every month. I've got these new mics on today. I ain't got the big Rode mics that I usually have hanging off the side of the chair, which you can see if you watch on YouTube. I ain't got them anymore. I've got this mic here. This Rode, well, I was going to get the Rode Wireless Go, but I ain't got the subscribers, the Patreon subscribers that I want just yet. So I went for a bit of a cheaper model, a cheaper Chinese model, and I'm doing that today. Also, because I'm so paranoid in losing the audio, I've also got my lav mic here, just in case it goes wrong. But I have tested it. You can take this out on the road. I've got my Zoom Pod Track 4 there. So rather than having to save my studio now and do this podcast, I'm going to be able to go out on my bike, or I'm going to be able to go out and walk around Japan. So I can do a podcast as we go. Shit's opening up now, so I've got people coming. I'm going to have guests on. It's all starting to blossom. And I thank you all for that, because I've been at it now. This is 103 episodes. And I was going to give up the ghost a while back. But I thought, nah, fuck it. Just stick with it, because I enjoy doing it. So I'm just going to stick with it and crack on. So before we get on to the episode, thank you very much. And thank you to you all. As I sit here sweating in the rainy season humidity, wet because I've been rained on, wet because I'm sweating. So the water is coming in from me externally and it's coming out of me internally. And that does throw up a potpourri of smells. Yeah. You've got what I have to do now when you go for a cycle anywhere and you're cycling to work somewhere, you've got to take these wet tissues with you. And these wet tissues, if you get the full fat alcohol ones, they will just get rid of any kind of smell that you have on you. So I'll get to my place of work, I'll give myself a once over with one of them everywhere, and it just gets rid of the smell. Even though I've not cut myself in any part of my body, there is a sting to them, especially where you get in near exit holes, shall we say. So you've got to be a bit careful. But yeah, that's where we are with the podcast now. So after a few false starts, I'm not giving it up. I do enjoy it, and I enjoy the practice of doing it. And it seems that other people enjoy a man in his early 50s ranting about shit. So, who am I not to give you that? Not up to me anymore. It's not up to me anymore. So the big story that made it to Japanese TV and Japanese news over here was Boris has gone. Boris has finally gone as an MP. He's given up the ghost. He's decided to say, fuck it, I'm not answering your questions anymore. I know I'm going to lose this seat because I've fucked up so many times. So rather than lose face, I'm just going to leave politics. Why couldn't you have done that 10 years ago? Why couldn't you have done that 10 years ago? So, Boris. I was first aware of Boris when he was giving Liverpool a lot of shit. He seemed to pick out Liverpool for a lot of his taking the piss. Yeah, and I don't know what had happened in Liverpool. It wasn't Hillsborough. It was summer after Hillsborough. And it was saying something about all people from Liverpool enjoy thieving. And something had happened in Liverpool, and I don't know what, but in the cathedral, in the Roman Catholic Cathedral in Liverpool, they'd got these books where you could sign condolences. And and he went up to apologise, and he went and signed the book of condolences, but somebody had pinched it. So Boris Johnson is there saying, yeah, you're a bunch of thieves. He gets called out. He goes up there to apologise. He says sorry. He goes to sign the book of condolences, and somebody had pinched it. And you could see him just looking at camera going, did you see? I told you. And then I remember him going on a zip line in Liverpool, doing his Brexit thing. He had 2 Union Jack flags. He's got his safety helmet on. He's on a zip line. He got stuck. He got stuck on this fucking zip line. So nobody really took him serious. So then he's the one backing Brexit. Get us out of Europe. And that vote, I think, 51-49? And we're out, we're gone because of this prick. And then when it turns out, they called him out on his lies, not during the vote, but after. And it turned out it were all bullshit. So Cameron had to go because it were his fault that we had left the EU. Theresa May came in. She fucked about ithering and dithering. And then Boris said, give us it here. And then he became Prime Minister. Couldn't believe it. He was like a Trump light. He even looked the same as Trump. Anyway, he came in and then COVID it. Now, the thing with COVID, I've said my piece on COVID. I enjoyed it thoroughly because I didn't have to go to work. And I just stayed at home, exercised, spent time with kids, ate right. And I'm now, because I got myself into that routine, I'm the fittest I've ever been. And I know people died, but there were people that weren't healthy. They were fat. They didn't look after themselves. So COVID sort of trimmed the herd a bit. Yeah, it trimmed the herd a bit. But the lockdowns, we got locked down for ages. Partly because of Boris and his policies. But the thing that got me was the same as everything else. These politicians were always getting caught out in the UK. I mean, they locked everybody down in the UK. They locked everybody in and stay there until we sort this shit out. So everybody did as they were told, apart from the politicians. There were fellas driving up and down the country going to see the parents. They were having parties at number 10 for Boris's birthday. And there were people in the UK that were having to say goodbye to close family members on FaceTime because they weren't allowed to go into hospital to say goodbye and see them off as they died. Locked everybody down. And it was the same here. You couldn't fly out of the country. Nobody could come here to Japan. Nobody really could leave unless you were a politician or you were some sort of business person. If you were making money for the country or you were running the country, oh yeah, no problem. But the shit munchers, we had to do what we were told. Now, I refused to do that. I would be going out every day on my bike. I wasn't wearing my mask. I think I got it. But I didn't get tested. I had a temperature, I had a cough, I had a sore throat, and after I got over the symptoms, I had severe fatigue for about 3 weeks. But I still went to work. I still exercised because I tested it. I tested COVID myself to see if I could get through it without changing my life at all. Everybody that I worked with, nobody got it. But I don't know if I had it because I never got tested. But the fact that people were getting locked in annoyed me when the politicians in the UK, were not locking themselves in. Now, during the lockdown, my mum died. And what happens over here if you're an expat? They give you 2 weeks holiday. They give you 2 weeks paid holiday so you can get home, give your respects and then get back. Now, my dad is still alive, so he sorted all the funeral out and stuff. But I would have liked to have been there to give my dad a bit of comfort. But I couldn't do that because Boris had locked everybody in. So I couldn't even get into the country. And the way that my dad were explaining my mother's funeral to me, it seemed a bit of a shit show. Because so many people were dying in Bradford, it was like a McDonald's drive-through. My dad, and he had to choose 2 or 3 members of family that could actually go into chapel for service. And then everybody else had to sit outside, out in fresh air with their masks on. The music broke down. That was not to do with COVID. So the woman had to get... My dad had sorted out a song. The music had broken, so the woman had to get her telephone, get it up on YouTube, and hold a microphone to her phone, and to send my mother off. You've got to find the comedy in it. Or you'll be in fucking tears. So I couldn't get home for funeral. Now, luckily, my dad has hung on, and the first episode from this podcast will be in England. I'll go over there. I've got a couple of guests lined up in England that I'll interview. So I'll do 2 interviews in England, and then I will go to Dubai. I'll do a podcast from Dubai. I've not got any guests lined up in Dubai yet, but there's something in works. And then after Dubai, I'll be going to Singapore. I've got an interview lined up in Singapore, and then after Singapore, I will be meeting my better half, and me and the fam will be going to Indonesia. We'll be going south of the border, and there are a couple of bantams, a couple of Bradford City fans that I've hooked up with that live in Bali. So I'm gonna find them. We'll have a sit down in some exotic place in Bali. Volcanoes, rice paddies. I don't know. It might be just some dodgy bar in downtown Denpasar with just mopeds and cars and fucking pollution. It might be that. I don't care. But I'm going to find a couple of folk from Bradford, and I'm going to find out how they got there from where I came from, because everybody's story is different. But I do find that when I do meet somebody from Bradford abroad who's left the city, I seem to have more in common with them after about 5 minutes than I do with people that I've known for over 30 years, which is weird because I've got some really, really good friends in the UK. But it's the city I come from, and it's 4 different countries I'm going to get to podcast from. And I've been to all these countries before, but I've never podcasted them from before because I started this podcast during the pandemic. And I'll be taking it abroad, which is great. Now, yesterday, for the rest of the world, but it was this morning here. So I were up at 3:30 this morning, AM, in the AM, for the Champions League final. So that's the probably the only negative thing about living as an expat at the other side of the world. If you want to watch any sort of major sporting event that's important, like the World Cup, European Championships, Champions League, 9 times out of 10, they are at the other side of the world. Because Asia rarely gets out. I mean, we had the Olympics, but we get the Olympics in Asia and nobody's allowed to come and watch them. That's how fucked up that Olympics was. We had tickets to go to the Olympics here. Go and watch an Olympic event in the country that I live in at a reasonable hour. Oh, pandemic, you can't do that. Watch on telly. Yeah, so you've got to be up early doors. And Man City were playing Inter Milan. And it were a shit game. It was a fucking rubbish game. Inter Milan locked them the fuck down. And I thought Manchester City were going to fuck it up again. And then Rodrigo scored that goal past 2 of them Inter Milan defenders. It were heading towards them, and you saw it bend round them. And as you look at the camera head on behind Rodrigo, as the goal goes in, you don't see it ball because he curled it round them and it went in. Cracking goal. I mean, Ireland was shut down. But yeah, they fucking won it. They won it, and I'm so glad it's a team that have never won it before that have won it. And I think it's going to open floodgates for them. Now that they've got it, they're not going to be. I don't think they'll choke again if they go for it again next year. Now, I'm friends with somebody who works for the most famous Manchester City fan. He used to be in the biggest band in the UK in the mid to late 90s. And I mentioned it last week. He's on tour. The most important 3 weeks of Manchester City's history. And he's on tour in America. So I messaged my pal in San Diego, and I've no idea why, but these seem to be popping up all over the world. You know, you've got Liverpool fan bars, Arsenal fan bars. There's the Liverpool bar, Henderson's bar in New York, is just a Liverpool supporters bar. Now, this one, we're in San Diego, and she sent me a message. I said, what time is it where you are? Because it's like fucking 4 o'clock here. And she just sent me a film. And there's Noel Gallagher in pub, just panning his camera around to all fans. Nobody's giving him a minute. They're cheering and they're all happy, But nobody gives a fuck who he is. They just leave him be. He didn't look to have any security. But yeah, he missed it. And every time they are in a major game or a major final, he always seems to, you can always get, oh, there's the players, there's Pep, oh, there's fucking Noel Gallagher in changing room. And the fucking only time they win it, he's 5,000 or 6,000 miles away in California, in the middle of a tour. But I'm sure he'll get his hands on it. He'll get his hands on it when he gets back to UK. So Manchester City are done now. And they'll be off for an holiday. I mean, the kid got up. He said to me, get me up. I've got to watch this Champions League final. I said, well, get yourself to bed now at 9 o'clock. And then when I wake you up at 4, you'll be able to stay awake and watch it. All right. I went to bed at 9 and I will bang out at 1:15. Because I'm fucking old and that's what I do. But I always get up at 4 or 5 o'clock, so I'm used to it. I sort of wake up around 11:30 and I hear him going to bed. And I thought, oh, for fuck's sake, you're not going to get up. So 3:30 rolls round and I'm waking up naturally because when you're 52, you always need a fucking piss between 3:30 and 4. That's your natural alarm clock when you're in your early 50s. So I woke up at 20 to 4, looked at the clock. I said, fuck it, I'll get up. Now, it's not televised on proper telly here. Neither it's Premier League. So I've got 2 subscriptions. The first one is to DAZN, where you get your Championship, League 1, League 2, J-League. You get your football there. Premier League, I've got to sign up for Spot TV. That comes in from South Korea. And that's where I get my Premier League. Now, for Champions League, you've got to get Wow Wow. And I didn't want to be paying a subscription on Wow Wow just for one game. So what my wife did was she signed me up for a free trial. So you sign up for a month's free trial and you get it all. So I thought, I'll sign up for that month's free trial, I'll watch the game, and then I'll cancel it in a month and I'll be able to watch Wimbledon. Job's a good one. Get up, Quart gets downstairs, coffee on, piss, sit down, go to put the thing on the TV, go to cast it to the TV from my phone. You cannot get this game on your free trial. You have to sign up. Like, for fuck's sake. So I'm trying to do this in Japanese and it's difficult. So I'm on my phone, I'm switching it over to auto translate. Anyway, I sort it out and I paid for a month's subscription. And I got that on my telly at 1 minute past 4, just as kickoff was starting. Went upstairs, got the lad, brought him downstairs. He gets on the sofa, 10 past 4, and he's out until half an hour after at full time. Wakes up. Oh, is it half time? No, it's done. It's done. But saying that, I would have still got up and watched it, even if it would be myself. It were a terrible game. Inter Milan closed them down. Inter Milan had a chance of levelling it in last minute, and it just will look that keeper's thigh was just there, that didn't go in. Pure luck. And now I don't know if they'll landed in Manchester when this comes out. I don't think they'll be staying put in Istanbul. I think they'll be getting back to celebrate with fans. But Manchester's blue now. For years and years and years, it were red. Manchester United, nobody could put a glove on them. From 93 right through for 20 odd years while Ferguson were there. And then that treble that they did in 1999. All the Manchester United fans say, yeah, but we did it first. Yeah, you did it first, But you didn't do it last, did you? You're not the latest team to do it. I mean, you're Manchester United and you're not even the biggest team in your city anymore. That must be embarrassing. I mean, Bradford City, hopefully, will always be the biggest team in my city because we've got Bradford Park Avenue. And I'm not even sure what league they're in. But yeah, congratulations to them. I'll see my friend when she gets back off tour when I get back to England. And that's it, and that's that. Again, thank you for downloading. Again, thank you for watching on YouTube. You know, it's great. And I'm getting paid for something I enjoy doing. And I'm not pocketing it. I'm buying gear for the podcast to try and make it a bit better. So thank you all, one and all, and I'll see you next week. And let's set that going.